let's start with the Sqlite. Right, today we would be starting with the Sqlite. If you can say, saving data to the database is ideal for repeating for the structured data such as the contact information. This class assumes that you are familiar with the SQL databases in general and helps you to get started with the Sqlite database on Android. The API you will need to use a database, which is nothing but this is a package they have given. Caution: although these APIs are powerful, they are fairly low level and require a great deal of time and effort to use. There is no compile time verification of the raw SQL queries. As your data graph changes, you need to update the affected SQL queries manually. This process can be time consuming and the error prone. Right. You need to use a lots of boilerplate code to convert the SQL queries into the data objects. See, here they have given the caution, and for these reasons we highly recommend to use the room persistent library, which is a fairly new room persistent library. We are going to use it, right? We are going to use the room library. Now, how that library works, let's understand that by means of code itself, right? Let's learn by means of code itself. Now, very first thing we need to add Android Sqlite room library. So I would be needing the Gradle, right? I would be needing the Gradle dependency. Now here, can you see, we would be needing these two things. Here, let's have this, copy this and put it to your Gradle file. Go to the Gradle, and inside the Gradle, please put these two files. Right, please put these two files. So I have kept these two files under the Gradle. Right. Now, next thing, right, for the room, we need to use these libraries. Now, here you would be getting something called as entities, DAOs, right, and other models. I hope you are familiar with the terminologies. Entity, database entity. Entities are nothing but the database entity. DAOs are nothing but the data access objects, right? DAOs are nothing but what you can say, data access object. So let's try to build something. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do, inside this, very first thing, we would be needing some configuration. The configuration that they have given here, we would be needing one class. Let me go to the Java, and here I can say new Kotlin class, and here I can say appdb. Name of the class would be the appdb. So this class I have created, appdb, which is extending, if you can see, the room database. We need to extend it to what? Room database. This your class need to extend to the room database. Let's have it, room database, right? And we need to make this class as abstract. Like this, right? We have extended this, and presently it won't be having anything. Let's keep it empty. Then I would be needing the entity, the entities that you are going to store into the DB. Entities that you are going to store into the DB, you can say mobile. I'm going to store into the DB mobile, sorry, just stick to the naming conventions, make it in the capital, new this and the mobile. Let's create the class, new Kotlin class, and I can say mobile. So mobile would be the table inside the DB. So to the mobile, what we can have, now remember we are creating the entity class presently, this class. So mobile would be having some ID, we can say val mbid, or here you can say var mbid, and that can be long, right, that can be long, and some initialization. Presently it would be the null, right. I can have something like this. So I have created something called as ID like this. Then I would be having the columns like type, where type is of type string. Presently this can be null, right. Then I can have var type, and then you can say manufacturer, presently null, and then you can have var is query, which is the boolean. Presently you can say null at the beginning, right. So I have created the mobile. Now consider that there will be one mobile table, and into the mobile table these four would be the columns. Inside the mobile table these four would be the columns: mbid, type, manufacturer, and the is query, right, is query. We are doing this thing. Now when you say this is a table, you need to tell your Android that this is a table by attaching one annotation called as entity. It's a database entity, right. This is the database entity, and here you can say at primary key. If you can see, this would be the primary key, this long would be what, primary key. And then you can provide the column info. Every field is nothing but the column info, and you can say name of the column. You can change name of the column, mob underscore type. You can do something like this. So this is also column. If you don't provide it, that will give automatically the variable name. Column would be the variable name, but you can provide it. It's a good to have this mob underscore mnfr like this, right. You can say name is equals to mnfr, and this is query. Straight away we can say is qwerty. So these would be the column names it is going to create, right. These would be the column names we are going to have. Then you can have, right. Now what we would be needing, other thing is the DAO class. If you can say, we would be creating some DAO interface like this, and internally it will implement this class and create it. It is a very similar to the Spring Data. If any one of you is from the background Spring Data, you would be understanding this. It is very similar to the Spring Data, right. Now what I want to do, let's create this interface, new Kotlin class here, and I can say mobile DAO, data access object. Precisely attach the annotation at DAO. It is the DAO. Annotation is nothing but what? The DAO. we are attaching the annotation, which is nothing but what? At DAO. So DAO would be one interface, plain interface, and into that interface you can write whatever queries you would be needing. You can write whatever queries, but that not typically the queries. That would be some functions you would be writing inside that, right? Now, how do we do that? I'll show you. But this library, this room library, will help you a lot. So we have created three things. As they have suggested, there are three major components in the room. First is the database, second one is the entity, and third one is the DAO. Right, third one is the DAO. Database, entity, and the DAO are important aspects of the room library. Right. Okay, so these are the important aspects of the room library: database, entity, and the DAO. Right, and the DAO. So we are creating the DAO now. Now we have already created the DAO, and we are going to insert the function save new car. Name of the function would be save new car, and we are going to pass object of car, save new mobile, and we would be having object of mobile, and you can say mobile like this, and just attach at insert. Right, why we are creating the class? This need to be the interface. Let me create the interface, new interface, and you can say mobile DAO. It is already available. It is saying, oh, we have deleted some wrong class. Let me delete this mobile, and here let me create interface, and then I can say mobile DAO. Okay, now attach the annotation at DAO, and inside that you can have fun save mobile, object of mobile, and then you can attach at insert. At insert, we would be having the insert here. You don't need to write any query for this. Well, you can write the queries, but this is a more precise way of working with, because while writing the queries there are no compile time errors, but here you can get everything like that. Now I have created one DAO, right? I have created one DAO with one method. Now we have created app DB also. We need to modify this class as well. Now third thing is nothing but the database. Right here you need to provide the entities, DB version, and something like this. Okay, now see what database would be having. Database would be having just the database annotation, and to the database annotation you can have array of all the entities mobile. I suppose array of mobile dot class dot mobile dot Well, what it is expecting, power has been off. What it is needing, just it is needing this, so just pass an array of mobile and the version, you can say first version. Like this. Power off. You can check it. And inside this, you would be needing, clearly you would be needing what you can say user DAO, mobile abstract function mob DAO, like this. Mob DAO, which would be returning the mobile DAO. You need to have an abstract method inside that. Whatever DAO you are needing, right, that you would be having something like this. See what we created. When you say the room library, three things are absolutely important. What are that three things? First is entity, second ones are DAOs, and third ones are the database. This file is very important. Now you can create this thing inside your activity or your application class, right? So what we would be doing inside the activity, you can do whole this piece of code. Now here, if you can see app db, I think we have file instead of app database, we have app db, like this, right? Application context and db name, you can say mobile db. We can have mobile db. Now here you would be needing the three things for this, and dot build. Now if you want to insert something, you can say db dot mobile DAO dot insert or save mobile, and you can pass object of mobile, right? Let's create object of mobile, here val mob is equals to mobile, and into that mob dot isQuery, here you can say true, mob dot this id is equals to this, then mob dot manufacturer, you can say moto, mob dot type is equals to tab, right? Is nothing but what? Tab. So here you are, what you can say, here you are inserting this mob object. If you can see, what is the efficiency of using this? Efficiency, they have clearly stated inside this why to go with the room library, why Google has strongly recommended that you should use the room library instead of this traditional way of dealing with the SQLite. Well, I already have recorded videos on this way, traditional way, creating the helper, then doing all that thing. Please watch that video. but that is, don't use that way. That is a too lengthy and error prone. And you need to use this itself using the room library. You need to follow this caution step. Right. Now let's try to run the project and see what happens. We are trying to, yes. Now we are running it and see what error it will give, or it will run smoothly. Let me open it and let's write query also. You can have, I need to have which will give me the list of, what's that? List of mobiles. List of mobiles, right? It should return me the list of mobiles. Well, in that case, you can write the query like this, at query, and then you can say select star from, right? If you can see, you can write the queries also. Select star from name of your table, or select star from your table name is nothing but the mobile, right? Your table name would be the mobile. Select star from mobile, which will give you all the mobiles. Well, inside the activity you need to write, right, inside the activity you need to write db dot mob DAO dot mobiles dot for each. We need to iterate over the for, and we can have log dot I at CodeKul, and then you can say here it dot, or say dollar it dot type. If you wanna get the type, you can say type, then it dot, you can say manufacturer, fr, then if you wanna get, what you can say, mobile id, and then you can say it dot is query, right? Inside for loop we are writing, you are inserting and just try to print it, right? Well, you can do all these things on the clicks of buttons as well, right? On the clicks of buttons. Now let's try to run the code and see what happens, and open the logs. It's running. Simple, right? First we created the entity, then we created the DAO, then we created the database. So database is that thing where we would be writing your DAOs. One application might have the multiple DAOs: mobile DAO, user DAO, employee DAO, shop DAO, and many things. Right, one application can have the multiple DAOs. Please start the projector once again. right? Let us see the output. What happens if you try to do that? Still it's not running. SQLite has been stopped. Why? Well, what's the error? App DB IMPL does not exist. App DB underscore IMPL does not exist. Do we need to run any Gradle task? Inside the SQLite, go to the now what they have suggested. After creating the files above, you get an instance of created database using the following code. You should follow the singleton design pattern when instantiating the app database object, as a room database instance is fairly expensive. Fine, but something is not getting created here. And what is that? We need to check. Something might be getting created inside the build. Kotlin. Generated. Source. Apt. Okay, I suppose this is the bug, because we have created same things, add the architecture components to your this we have for the Kotlin based apps. Okay, make sure that you use the KAPT instead of annotation processor. Instead of annotation processor, you should also add the Kotlin apt plugin. Now we need to visit our Gradle file, KAPT. We need to add it. And where is the Kotlin apt plugin? Apply plugin Kotlin apt. Kotlin apt is
Kotlin KAPT.
KAPT. Kotlin KAPT. Okay. Kotlin KAPT would be the plugin that we would be needing. Now let us see what happens. Kotlin KAPT. instead of annotation processor, use the KAPT instead of annotation processor, and you should add the Kotlin KAPT plugin. We have added Kotlin KAPT plugin, right? Now let's try to run the project. See, for the Kotlin you need to make these changes. If you want to use some libraries, you might need to add these things to your build.gradle. See, how did we solve this issue? This was not working, right? We referred the document, and from the document we did, but still it is giving the error. Why it is happening like this? What's that? Illegal. Cannot access the database on the main thread. It may potentially lock your UI. Okay. Which line? This line. I need to thread. Very simple thing we did. Thread dot start and get all these things on the separate thread.
I think the database creation and operation might be taking more than that ANR time.
Yes. It's on the main thread, so it is saying that don't do anything on the main thread. But what is happening with this emulator? Why it is going there?
I think because of that only it was showing the ANR error, I think.
Yes, now see, can you see data has been saved and we are getting the data here. Now I don't know what is happening to this emulator, why it is behaving weird like that. See this.
What we just did, just only thread, that's it.
Thread, we just created a separate thread, and on another thread we have put all the operations, saving and other thing. This is the room library. We have implemented which library? Room persistent API. Very simple library, right? But it is very important when you are when it's time to use the DB. Extremely important, right? Now there are many things, absolutely many things you can deal with it. Many things are there when you are dealing with something like this. Many things you can do, right? Relationships means one-to-many relation, right? If you would like to have one-to-many, that also you can do, right? So that I'll cover in the next tutorial, right? Fine.